Is there cause for concern with Willson Contreras after his slow start to the month of August?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome to another episode of the show. The Red Sox could not close out the sweep against the Arizona Diamondbacks and lost 7-6 in 10 innings yesterday. Going to be touching on that on today's show, which includes some infield dilemmas. What do the Red Sox actually do when they get guys like Trevor Story and IKF back from injury? Plus Mickey Gasper's big series and Willson Contreras. Now, Willson Contreras has been the Red Sox best and most consistent hitter throughout the course of this season. Overall on the season, he's been a guy that they have been able to rely on consistently and have been able to trust. Currently, he has a .284 average, .393 on base percentage, and .534 slugging percentage on the year. And he just gets on base a lot. And that was one of the biggest things that I highlighted about Willson going into this season that I liked about him when the Red Sox traded for him was he's just a good contact hitter who just gets himself on base. And not only does he get himself on base through hits, but he manages to get hit by pitches a lot, which obviously is not fun, but it is a way to get on base. And he, in general, has been a guy that even when the Red Sox offense has struggled, has typically been able to be a guy that the Red Sox have been able to rely on. But as of late, he has been slipping a little bit. In the month of August, .260 batting average overall with 13 hits, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 9 runs scored over 14 games that he's played in. Now, granted, those feel like they're pretty good numbers, but they are skewed a little bit because he's been able to increase his performances a little bit as of late. But earlier in the month, it was tough for him. He went 0 for 5 on August 2nd against the Dodgers, another game in which he struggled, going 0 for 2 against the Athletics on August 9th. And then again, the next 2 games, he went hitless against the Blue Jays. So 3 games in a row in which he recorded no hits. And that just didn't feel like Willson Contreras. And then he came up again hitless on August 15th against the Pirates. So it felt like a scenario where Willson Contreras was just dropping down altogether. And because of those hitless games, those dropped his numbers a little bit. But when you look at the overall picture of what Willson's provided this season, he truly has been a guy that the Red Sox have overall been able to rely on. And that's the reason why I'm personally not freaking out about Willson Contreras. I feel like when the Red Sox get to the playoffs, this is a guy who's going to go off because we haven't seen a lot of evidence to show that Willson's going to continue to decline. When he struggled, he's been able to break out of those struggles. But something that's very telling is that he genuinely has seen a difference in the month of August. Now, keep in mind that he recently set in game 1 of the series against the Diamondbacks his career record for most home runs in a season with 25. That is a career high. And the Red Sox were looking for power. Going into this season, they were hoping they would get a guy who was going to hit a lot of home runs. And Willson Contreras has been that guy for this team who's been able to provide that pop and that power. His previous single season high was 24 home runs, which he hit back in 2019 with the Cubs. 5 other seasons, he hit better than 20 home runs, including in 4 of the previous 5 seasons. But with a swing that's built for Fenway Park, he's been able to elevate that production this season. So his batting average right now, like I mentioned, being .284, that would be his highest batting average since his 76 games played in 2016. And it's 7 RBIs off from a career record, which he set a season ago. It's his highest on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS of his career if the season ended today. And that's notable and telling, OPS of 929. So all of that stuff is a positive. And he wants to stay with the Boston Red Sox. He's expressed interest in wanting to finish his career here. He would not waive his no trade clause. That's something that he's been very vocal about. And he wants to stay in Boston, which is notable and good for the Red Sox to know, because this is a guy who's been super valuable for this team. Now, over the last few weeks, we have seen a decline, like I mentioned, but that really stems from a compounding wave of physical ailments, including a lingering sore hamstring that he's been playing through, plus a recent stint with an illness featuring a high fever and dizziness that caused him to sit out for a game, and a scary hit by pitch to the helmet that required concussion protocol. So when you deal with all of those obstacles, that's going to physically bring down your stamina. And there's been issues as of late with people not liking the fact that Willson Contreras didn't hustle out ground balls. But you can see that he physically doesn't have as much energy. And when you're a guy who's playing every single day and not really getting the rest, naturally you're going to start to feel some fatigue. The Red Sox are in the middle of a stretch right now in which they've had 16 games in 16 days. And finally that stretch is over because it's a much needed off day today. But for a guy who's playing basically every day during that stretch, he's going to see some natural fatigue. That head area impact being drilled in the helmet by a 95.4 mile per hour fastball, that's pretty serious. That disrupts his timing and ended up requiring a brief shutdown for him. And the sore hamstring has noticeably limited his speed and overall explosiveness out of the batter's box and on the bases. So again, a biggest reason for his lack of hustle on those ground balls is due to that hamstring issue that he just hasn't really addressed. He has had an increased tendency to chase pitches below and outside the strike zone during the peak of this downturn. And that's something that's definitely been something I'm watching for, because generally he hasn't overall been a crazy chase hitter. We do see him take some very bad swings, but overall it's not as bad as a guy like Trevor Story when it comes to chasing. Now, keeping in mind the fact that it's been a few weeks now into August. As of a week ago, he was 7 for 40, which is a 175 average since July 25th, with 1 home run, 4 RBIs, 6 runs scored, 10 walks, and 17 strikeouts across 14 games. And he had only hit 1 home run during an 18-game stretch dating to July 20th. So those were not great stats for him as of a week ago. And starting the month of August, he dipped to a 4 for 24 start. So that's obviously not ideal. But like I said, wear and tear is a huge aspect of this. He's just taken a physically heavy beating all season, leading the league and getting hit by pitches multiple times in sensitive areas. So that type of stuff does take a toll. But in terms of the hitter that he is, he has still been able to provide a lot of success for this Red Sox team. Now, barrel percentage, he's in the 92nd percentile, hard hit percentage, 71st percentile, average exit velocity, 66th percentile. So when it comes to the power type of categories offensively, he's been able to produce at a high level with a lot of extra base hits at a place like Fenway Park. Now, he's in the 24th percentile in strikeout percentage and 23rd percentile in chase rate. What does that say? That he does tend to strain himself a little bit with swinging at pitches he shouldn't be swinging at, and he's among the below average group of hitters when it comes to those categories. So nowhere nearly as effective as he should be when it comes to the chasing, but he does take his walks. He's in the 76th percentile in walk rate. And that's exactly what I mean about getting on base. Willson just finds ways to get himself on base and create opportunities. And because he's generally been doing that all season, he's allowed to go through a slump, and his slump to start the month of August has been tough. But overall, he seems to be breaking out of it a little bit. In game 1 of the series against the Diamondbacks, in which the Red Sox won 11-1, he went 2 for 4 with a home run. That was when he hit his career-leading 25th home run. In game 2 of the series, he went 2 for 4 in that game, driving in a run. He also struck out twice in the series finale. He recorded 2 hits over 5 at-bats with 2 strikeouts. So he recorded a multi-hit game in each of those 3 games. And that's notable because it shows that Willson is getting back on track. Now, there is some frustration because he did have an at-bat in last night's game in which he was up with the bases loaded and he struck out swinging on a 95-mile-per-hour heater down the middle. It just ate him alive, and people were mad because they were like, well, he's supposed to be our best hitter. Why couldn't he come through there? So he does have moments where you feel like he should be the one coming through, and he's not. But when you look at the big picture of what Willson Contreras has done this season and where he's at right now, there's no huge reason for concern when it comes to where Willson Contreras is at. And what's notable is that his 2-out hitting has been something that's been a standout. He has a .353 batting average on the season when he hits with 2 outs compared to a .252 average with 0 outs or 1 out. And that's huge because you need to have guys who can hit with 2 outs. And he's a guy who certainly has been able to do that. And his batting average overall on the season with runners in scoring position has been .317. So it's not like he hasn't been able to be effective in positions where there's guys on. He's not going to be able to do it every time. But when you look at the overarching picture of this Red Sox team and where things are at, Willson is still 100% one of the guys that I would trust, no doubt, to be able to step up to the plate and drive in runs when the Red Sox really need it. And that's the type of player you want on your team for a playoff run. So has Contreras physically looked a little bit different in the month of August so far? Yes. But is he starting to turn that around again? Also, yes, that can be true. His first couple weeks of August, the first half of it, he seemed to be in a little bit of a slump, but he's starting to turn things around again. And hopefully that means that he'll continue that all the way straight through into the playoffs so he can help the Red Sox get a big boost to the lineup. So I'm not overly concerned about Willson Contreras. He's been so consistent overall this season, and nothing about his season right now has shown an inability to climb back after slumps. So good series overall for him. Good signs from him at the plate. He was getting on base, and hopefully that continues. But coming up, another guy who had a big series for the Red Sox was Mickey Gasper. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's exactly why the Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots treat your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. It's a zero sugar tweet that Sweet Tooth approves. And I also like how convenient it is because it's literally a small portable shot that I can grab whenever I need a little pick-me-up, even when I'm on the go. And it's great because you're getting that same taste without the sugar. Get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. There's truly nothing like watching a game, especially when you get to watch it live in front of the excitement of the fans. But getting tickets can feel like an absolute grind because nobody wants to deal with long queues, surprise fees, and prices jumping at checkout. Game Time avoids all of that. It's the app that gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's exactly how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. And I love it because there's no hidden fees. What it shows you is exactly what you pay, so you're not finding that the price is suddenly jumping at checkout. You can follow your favorite team and get alerts when new deals drop. I have seen some tickets drop literally as low as $10. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. The other thing I really like about Game Time is that there's a seat views feature so that when you're looking for tickets, you can make sure that the view's not obstructed and you're not going to be blocked by a pole or something. You'll actually be able to see the game that you're watching. So it's the best ticketing vendor out there. The Red Sox could not finish the sweep against the Arizona Diamondbacks. 2 big wins in the first 2 games of the series, but then they could not finish it and ended up falling 7-6 in 10 innings in the series finale. And they're not going to win every game, and that's definitely what people have to wrap their heads around, because it always feels like it might be the end of the world if the Red Sox aren't winning every game, but you have to focus on winning series at this point to stay consistent as you propel yourselves forward into a postseason spot. And the Diamondbacks are a good team. They had a very similar record as the Red Sox did going into this series. So it's not like they just lost against a bad team yesterday. The Diamondbacks played well, and you've got to hand it to them. So the Red Sox overall just didn't have it in that specific game. But one player who shined in this series was Mickey Gasper. And I have nothing but really good things to say about him. While he works incredibly hard and just does what's asked of him, he's also genuinely just a very nice, polite person. And it's just great to see him succeed at the highest level, especially because he's a local guy. He's from New Hampshire originally, played college baseball at Bryant. So he's definitely a local guy who is New England based, who's very familiar with the environment in New England. So it's extra special to see a guy like that succeed for your favorite team. So I'm really happy for him, but he went off in this series. He hit a home run in every single game of this series, which is so hard to do. And that was only the second time this season that a Red Sox player has done that. Cedar Rafaela is the other player who did that when he homered in all 3 games against the Dodgers earlier this month, which was also really cool to see. But Mickey Gasper comes in, taking over Masataka Yoshida's spot on the roster because Masa had to go on the injured list, and he just comes in and does not miss a beat from the last time he was called up. And every time Mickey Gasper is up, he makes a positive impact, and that's a great boost to have on your team. In game 1 of the series, he batted 8th, and he went 1 for 5 with that home run, driving in 2 runs. Game 2, the Red Sox won that game 9-4. He batted 9th in that game, going 2 for 2 with a home run and driving in 2 runs. He also recorded 2 walks. So he reached base 4 times in game 2 of the series. And because he was hitting so well in the first 2 games, the Red Sox moved him up in the order for game 3 because he earned it. Guys who are hitting well deserve to move up. So he moved up to the 6th spot in this game and launched another home run, a big one. It was a 3-run homer. The Red Sox were down 5-2 at the time, and then Mickey launched that home run to make it a 5-5 game. And it was absolutely electric because everybody was like, wow, I can't believe he just did it again. But it was a 407-foot homer to right center, tying the game at the time. It's too bad the Red Sox couldn't hold it down and win the game. But nonetheless, a huge standout performance again for Mickey Gasper. And the decision to move him up had to do with the fact that things were working so well for him. 3 days after returning from AAA Worcester was when he ended up moving up to batting 6th. That should put things into perspective of just how much of an impact he's made in the few days that he's been here. When you hit, you hit. His Red Sox stats overall now after the game yesterday included 256 average, 323 on base percentage, and 393 slugging percentage. And that is what you want. That's the hitter that comes up and provides a spark after coming up from Worcester that you didn't know you needed. And he's a very good hitter, especially from the left side. Being a switch hitter definitely helps him because he can adjust based on the pitching matchup. But he's found a lot of success batting from the left side, which is why he's honing into that a lot more. And that's what I really like to see because he swings with a lot of confidence when he's hitting in that location from the left side of the plate as opposed to from the right side of the plate. And he can still hit from the right side, but typically he finds a lot of success batting on the left side. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened for him in the game yesterday when he hit that home run. He was batting lefty. Chad Tracy just simply said he can hit, and he's just a really, really good at bat, and the ball just finds the barrel. And that's a good quality to have, and that's something that you want to continue to have. So what makes him such a good hitter, he just has a very advanced plate discipline. There were 2 pitches before his home run yesterday that were very chaseable pitches, and a lot of hitters chased those. They were down and away, barely off the strike zone. And for him to hold up on both of those and then launch a home run just shows that he has that ability to hold up and look for the right pitch. He has exceptional barrel control and just a simple gap-to-gap approach that really allows him to consistently put the ball in play. He just gives high quality at bats, and the ball just finds the barrel. And that's backed by his switch hitting utility and low chase rate. So those are all qualities of his game that are very strong. He displays high-level pitch recognition and a low chase rate, frequently working deep counts and drawing walks. So that helps him. The lineup flexibility aspect of him being a switch hitter is also huge since he can provide effective contact from both sides of the plate. And he focuses on a short, direct swing that generates consistent contact and line drives to all fields rather than just shelling out for raw power. Plus, he shows a lot of 2-strike poise, doesn't panic with 2 strikes, and shortens up to protect the plate and keep rallies alive. So mechanically, when he's able to do all that stuff, he's able to find a lot of success at the plate. So ultimately, that's what continues to make Mickey a good hitter. And he's very comfortable at home. Notably at Fenway, he's batting .298 on the season compared to .211 on the road. Versus right-handed pitching, he's batting .281. He does need work against lefties. He's batting just .111 on the season against left-handed pitching. Versus right-handed pitchers as a left-handed hitter, that's when he's batting .358 too. So that's his best combination, is when he's batting lefty and he's facing a right-handed pitcher, because when he's batting righty and facing a lefty, that's when he struggles. He does have a .268 average in general versus a right-handed starter, as opposed to that .281 versus right-handed pitchers in general. .177 average versus left-handed starters, and then that .111 average versus left-handed pitching in general. So obviously his strength is hitting against right-handed pitching, but sticking to the left side. And he's been able to find that niche. And when he's able to make good contact, it's usually in those instances. He's been going off in the second half. In his time up with the Red Sox in the second half, he's batting .429 as opposed to .243 in the first half of the season. In general, .429 batting average in August, because again, he wasn't up with the team in July. In June, .161 average, and in May, .333. So June, he did struggle a little bit in 17 games that month, but in May, when he also played 17 games, he batted .333. So generally, even though it's a relatively small sample size for him, he's been able to be a spark plug for the Red Sox offense. And that leaves the Red Sox with more difficult decisions in terms of when Masataka Yoshida is ready to come back. They're not going to just bench Masa likely, but if Mickey Gasper is being productive, do they really want to send him back down to Worcester? Because they're going to have to make some Worcester decisions here coming up, because as guys get healthy, they need to make room on the roster for those guys. But with the way that Mickey's been able to provide that spark for this team in that DH role, I don't know that I necessarily want to see him back down in Worcester, especially not right now. And he also catches, but he's not catching right now because the Red Sox do have Connor Wong and Adley Rutschman as their 2 catchers, so they don't really feel like they need to utilize Mickey Gasper in that capacity. So primarily he is being used as a designated hitter. But when you know a guy is a talented hitter like that, and that he's able to come through from that left side, would it make sense to send him back down to Worcester as opposed to somebody else? Because there are other options in that mix of guys who are at risk of being sent down to Worcester. So interestingly, on the season, he hasn't been great as a pinch hitter. He's batting just 143 on the season when he pinch hits, but 323 as a DH, 222 as a first baseman, and ultimately those are primarily what he's been playing for positions, but as a catcher, 262 batting average on the season. So his numbers haven't fluctuated that much, only in pinch hitting situations, because he's a consistent hitter and he's able to find that ability to get himself on base and be productive. So overall, I'm hoping Mickey Gasper stays up with the major league team, and I'm hoping that he's a guy who continues to provide that spark plug, because the Red Sox could really use it. But coming up, how are the Red Sox going to handle the infield dilemmas upon guys returning? Can we talk about one of the most underrated organs in your body? Your liver. It's your body's filter, processing everything you consume and performing more than 500 functions every day. It's involved in things like energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, and vitamin storage, so it's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. That's why giving your liver daily support can be an important part of building healthy habits. Dose for Your Liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement designed to support daily liver functions. Unlike another capsule or powder, Dose comes as a liquid 2-ounce daily shot that tastes like fresh squeezed orange juice. It's zero sugar, zero junk, and 0 calories, making it an easy addition to your daily routine. I'd probably take Dose first thing in the morning. I already have a routine where I'm grabbing coffee, checking my phone, the usual stuff, just getting ready for the day. So it would naturally just slot right into my morning routine. It's just one of those things that's so quick. You don't really have to think about it. You just do it and move on. So if you get into that routine, it just becomes a force of habit. Ready to give your liver the support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.co/LockedOnMLB or enter LockedOnMLB to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you. Let's do something for it. That's dosedaily.c-o/LockedOnMLB for 35% off your first month subscription. Take care of your body. It's going to be so important for your body long term. And if you get into that routine, then it'll feel like nothing. So you can help your body just like it helps you. 2 of 3 the Red Sox took against the Diamondbacks this week, with a very much needed off day today, and the San Francisco Giants coming to town this weekend. Now, that's a big series because Rafael Devers makes his return to Fenway Park for the first time since being traded to San Francisco last year. And I am very interested in seeing how this goes. How will the Red Sox fans greet Rafael Devers? Will he get a standing ovation? Will he be met with boos after some of the rumblings of how things went down with Devers before he was traded? So I'm definitely very intrigued by how that goes, but I'm also very excited about this series. Hopefully the Red Sox can continue their winning ways. Hopefully should be refueled after a much needed off day. But another thing that I'm intrigued by when it comes to the Red Sox right now is the infield dilemma that they are dealing with, because both Trevor Story and IKF are on their way back from injury. And now we're at the point where you have to wonder what happens with the Red Sox infield, because Andrew Monasterio and Nick Sogard have both been valuable this year. When they lost Trevor Story and IKF to the 60-day IL back in late May and early June, and they traded away Marcelo Meyer at the trade deadline, it really put into focus that the Red Sox know they have options in the infield, especially the middle infield. And like most of the other players this season, Andrew Monasterio had a slow start for Boston. He was at the back of the bench and saw limited playing time. But when the injuries happened, he stepped into a bigger role and has started hitting and has produced consistently. he's kind of needed for this team, even with the original starters returning. He's not great defensively, but what he provides at the plate feels indispensable. So when Trevor Story comes back, if the Red Sox want to put him in at Trevor Story in shortstop every day, then they could move Andre Monasterio to second base. That's definitely an option. And it does feel like Trevor Story is ultimately going to play shortstop. I don't really see the Red Sox not doing that. So to me, Trevor Story is going to end up being the everyday shortstop, which means they could move Andre Monasterio to second base. But then the question becomes, what happens with Nick Sogard or Anthony Seigler, because Chad Tracy already promised that Andre Monasterio is going to play upon guys coming back. So that to me means that Chad Tracy values him and his production. So he's going to find a way to put him in there. So that kind of leaves Nick Sogard or Anthony Seigler. And Seigler has been a spark plug for this Red Sox team. He got off to a really hot start upon getting called up from AAA. And since then has kind of fell off at the plate. But the energy that he's provided has been very much needed for this team. And Nick Sogard has also stepped up. He just gets on base and manufactures runs, which are the two things that the Red Sox have been huge on and have needed. So they want him too. So if they move Andre Monasterio to second base to make room for Trevor Story, then either Nick Sogard or Anthony Seigler is going to have to go back down to Worcester. And for me, it seems like it makes more sense to move Seigler back down, just because from an offensive perspective, Nick Sogard's producing a little bit more. And IKF will still be in a utility bench role more. So if they're looking for somebody to move back down to Worcester, because Seigler's slowing down at the plate, I could see him being the option. But again, that spark plug he's provided has been huge for this team, because him getting called up really is what started this big run that the Red Sox are on right now. So do they want to lose that? But if they make the choice that they need that and they want to keep that around, then they could send Nick Sogard back down to Worcester, but then they're losing a contact guy who finds ways to get on base, who just has that dog in him and grinds. So that could be a hard decision too. And what's crazy about all of this is that all three of those guys that I'm talking about right now have been producing better than Trevor Story did before he got hurt. I just know that the Red Sox aren't going to bench Trevor Story for one of these guys. They're going to want him in there. They're going to want his experience in there. They're going to want a guy who's a veteran in the clubhouse to be in there consistently. So they're not going to go and say, hey, Trevor, you're going to lose playing time because of Nick Sogard. That's just realistically not going to happen. So to me, I'm looking at it as a situation where, okay, we just have to accept that Trevor Story is going to be back in the mix every day. So who does it make sense to send down? And to me, if you have to send down one of those players, I'm picking the guy who has kind of fallen off at the plate a little bit, and Anthony Seigler, even though we're certainly going to miss his energy with the major league team. You want the guys who are going to be able to produce in October. And Nick Sogard has had big moments in crunch time for the Red Sox. Last year, when they were trying to clinch a playoff spot, he had a big moment that helped them win a game in late September. So you want to give guys like that an option unless they give you a reason not to. So it's going to be a tough decision for the Red Sox to make. There's going to be a lot of roster navigations that they're going to have to figure out and go through. But I'm just hoping that when these guys come back, if they are regular contributors, that they actually are contributing and they are showing up, especially Trevor Story, because he was struggling prior to getting hurt. Defensively, he will be an upgrade at shortstop from Andre Monasterio, but offensively, I'm not so sure. So hard decisions that the Red Sox are going to have to make, but I'm definitely curious to see how they navigate the situation. Time will tell. Thank you so much, as always, though, for tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen of every single day. Now on video, I send you to the first ever 24/7 YouTube channel on MLB, and on audio, check out Locked On MLB Game Night for your second listen. Thanks so much, as always. Keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.